Massive news announced today in the national press that gives options for potential expansion of St James's Park. It's coming up. Welcome back, Eddie here from Tyneside Live. First of all, did you get your Wembley tickets? Well, I was in the third batch, so I was able to go online and get my ticket today, but what a palaver. It took me about 4 attempts, so I was already logged on, so when the countdown started at 10 o'clock, I was about 7,000-ish on the list. So it took about 20-25 minutes to get down to me, and then a screen come up with a red sentence which said, potential dangerous activity in one of the fields. Try again. I thought, oh no, what's going on here? My account's being hacked or something, so I pressed the back button. It redirected us back to the site. The same sentence come up, pressed the back button, and it kicked us off altogether. I had to rejoin the queue. By this time, I was about 30,000th on the list. I was absolutely gutted, and they said it was going to take about an hour anyway. I waited, went through all of that massive queue, got to the front, and exactly the same thing happened again twice. I can't believe to tell you this, the frustration. I thought, I'm not even going to get a ticket here. Something's happened, something's corrupted. So I decided to do it on my phone. So I went on my phone, went through the same system. Thankfully, I was able to get a ticket. Not in the area I wanted to be in. I'm up a height, at the side of the pitch. It looks like there's just drips and drabs of tickets left now. Nonetheless, I feel really lucky. I've got my ticket. I'm going to Wembley. Anyway, without any further ado, let's talk a little bit more about the land behind me. Now, since the owners have bought Newcastle United, there's been huge speculation as to whether the club would build a brand new stadium in a new area or try somehow to expand St James's Park. Like a lot of people, quite a few months ago, I have to say, I was seduced into the notion that they would build a brand new stadium. And I thought I'd identified an ideal plot of land. Actually, turned out I was completely wrong. And 2 days later, Mehrdad Ghodoussi and Amanda Staveley were interviewed in The Athletic, where they categorically stated that they would not be moving from St James's Park. Personally, I found that a huge relief. So since then, there's been all sorts of talk about how on earth would they expand St James's Park, because back in 2019, Mike Ashley sold the lease to the land called Strawberry Place behind me here, which I think the land's owned by Nexus, correct me if I'm wrong, for about £9 million. So that put paid to any meaningful expansion ideas. And of course, the speculation was rife as to how they would try and wriggle a few more thousand fans into St James's Park, because Mehrdad did say that they would try and, when the time was right, probably 3 or 4 years' time, they would expand, if they could, in conjunction with Newcastle City Council, about 60 to 65,000. So back in 2019, when Mike Ashley sold the lease to that land for £9 million to Property Development Group, and there's a few names been in the hat, Helios, the High Street Group, 1 or 2 others. Plans have been in for the past 2-3 years or so for 4 tower blocks to be built in this land just here. 3 of them are going to be student accommodation blocks, and 1 was going to be a hotel. And of course, that was just going to massively impinge any opportunity for any meaningful expansion at the Gallowgate end of St James's Park, but also just completely destroy the skyline of this magnificent stadium. But it's been announced today that Newcastle United, after a few months of consultation with Mehrdad Ghodoussi, have bought the lease back to this land. I don't know how much they bought it back for. It was sold for £9 million. I'd say at least 10 times that. Who knows? The most important thing is Newcastle United now own the lease on that land for potential development in the future. In the short term, and you're probably talking 2 or 3 years, they're going to turn it into a huge fan zone to satisfy fans who kind of get into the stadium, which I think is going to be an absolutely brilliant idea. And then, of course, when the time's right, I'm sure plans are afoot now with architects and structural engineers to draw plans for potential expansion of the Gallowgate end. And of course, I'm not a structural engineer or a stadium architect, but it seems obvious the only way they can do any expansion with the Gallowgate end is some sort of cantilever extension, a bit like the Milburn and the Sir John Hall at the other end of the stadium, which would go over the road here. Of course, that is going to take some engineering wizardry. I'm sure the experts will be able to manage somehow, because the metro system, the metro station at St James's here, that encroaches about a third of the width of the Gallowgate end. So it's going to take some extraordinary amount of technical wizardry, like I say, to build a cantilever stand. And if you look at the Sir John Hall stand, the top tier, from the width of the pitch, there's about 5,000 seats there, so you'd have to say there's probably going to be a similar amount if they built a cantilever extension on the top of the Gallowgate end of about 5,000 seats, roughly. And of course, I'm sure they'll try and raise the corners up as well, another 2,000 or 3,000 there. So you're looking at, from its current capacity of about 52,300-ish, knocking on to about 60,000. Now this is absolutely fantastic news, not only for Newcastle United and the fans who can't currently get in, but for the city of Newcastle as well, with the extra revenue it's going to bring in, the jobs that are going to be created. So it can put paid to any rumours that Newcastle United will move to another area for another stadium. I'm absolutely certain that's not going to happen. Now, if I'm kind of going to express an opinion on how I think they expand it even further again, is the East Stand. Now, of course, you've got the Grade 1 listed buildings behind there. I've talked about that to death. I talk about it in my guided tours. I could talk about it for hours. I've covered it in videos. There are real hurdles in relation to that land behind the East Stand. My personal view is, when the time's right, I think they're going to rebuild the East Stand to better specifications, with better materials, better architecture, with some sort of agreement with England Heritage in relation to Leazer's Terrace, and turn that stadium into safe standing. Now, if you turn the East Stand into safe standing as it is today, it's 1-for-1. So there's no increase in capacity. But if you rebuild it to better specifications, with a mind of the kiosks, the escape routes, the toilets, the drop curb, the gangways, all of that, completely redesign it. I've spoke to the guy who installs safe seating in stadiums around Europe. He was in Berlin. I spoke to him on the phone for about 20 minutes. He explained to me, if they were redesigned, you can actually increase the capacity by about 30%. Now, if you rebuild the East Stand, I don't know how many thousands of seats are in there at the moment, let's say 5,000, you might get another extra couple or 3,000 fans in the East Stand. Who knows? That's just my opinion. But what a brilliant piece of news this is for Newcastle United. So there you go, a quick video off the hoof. I had no plan to do this video. I only heard on the train as I was coming back from Durham. To summarise, Strawberry Place developments are no longer going to build 4 tower blocks on this land. Newcastle United have bought the lease to the land back. In the short term, they're going to use it as a fan zone. In the long term, you would expect them to look into extending the Gallowgate end. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments below. Give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed this particular video. Great news. I'm so excited about this. And yeah, until next time, catch you later.